Hey everybody, this is Jim.
And this is Mike.
And we have show number 14 for you.
Yay!
And Mike, what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to go back before rock and roll to rockabilly.
Okay.
Today we hope to explore the origins and then get into some present day stuff.
Yeah.
And we've learned so much, and we hope others can learn too.
Yeah, been listening to a lot of rockabilly. Too much, you know. I got this new pompadour.
Oh, yeah?
You know, did you notice? I got a hair transplant. And
I noticed, you weren't wearing the hat anymore, and so look what sprung up.
And I went to the leather store, you know, but they didn't have any leather pants, so I ended up with chaps. So that's what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
For the listeners. Luckily, there's no video.
And we have this table which will sustain, knock on wood.
Yeah. So let's.
So Jim, let's get into before rock to rockabilly. You know, we've been interviewing musicians, say Claude S. from Anything Box, synth, alt, pop, taking us back, 25 years, to 35 years to the 80s.
Okay.
We've interviewed Chuck Negron, still singing and still playing guitar in the 1960s. You know how many years ago that was. We're going to go back even further.
Way back.
We're taking it back further than Three Dog Night and their rock and roll.
Even before we were born.
Yes.
Can you imagine that?
So, we talk about rock and roll so much being the base of what all these other genres and styles that came from it. But this is before. We're going to take us up into the birth of rock. I think to understand rockabilly, we have to think about what was going on at the time. We're talking, Jim, 1940s and 1950s. You had people of all ages, maybe immigrants, actually, from wherever, from Europe, bringing over their classical and listening to it only, the opera. I'm just talking about the culture of the U.S., what was going on. And then here in the U.S., not brought to it, was our country, classic country, not today's country, which sounds like rock, right?
Yeah.
But, you've got country, you've got jazz, and its various forms here. What was popular back then? Big band. Harry James leading big band.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got your different forms of big band jazz. You've got the swing, okay?
I think jazz and blues. Blues pretty much beginning of, the more upbeat kind of music.
So you've got blues going on at this time, but remember our nation is even more segregated than now. It was really segregated. And so black music was blues, and it was separate. People couldn't play together, be together.
They were playing in these little clubs that people didn't.
And then I'm also thinking about, and this brings in the hillbilly part. I'm thinking about the traditional folk music, the Appalachian. Down south they call it Appalachian, not Appalachian. So the Appalachian music and the country that's back in, the people playing the spoons and the washboards.
Everything they could find in the kitchen.
Yeah. So all this is happening, and this is what comes next. People taking it a step further and blending these. And so, experts in the field, experts who know about rockabilly even more than you and I do, they talk about a blend of country and rhythm and blues and bluegrass. Yeah. And just kind of blending.
And we're talking 1920s.
Yeah.
Real early on in the early 1900s.
Right. And there was a type of country music, and we'll talk about this later too, a little bit more down south, and it was called hillbilly music. They called it hillbilly, and it started being a little derogatory at first, but we'll see how that plays out. So there's a close relationship between the blues and country music, and again, you think about the blues. What is blues bringing to this? And what is rhythm and blues bringing to this? Yeah. It's bringing the rhythm and the strong backbeat and the rhythm, but segregation. People who are of color, people who are black, especially in the South, they're doing their own thing with rhythm and blues, and country is a white thing, separate. And they're not together, and they're bringing it together.
Where country is mostly white and blues mostly black.
Right.
Music. And this is where eventually merged together
Right. People are bringing it together and they're looking beyond race. And that's the beautiful thing, to talk about in 2020. It's just, people who are a generation younger than us can't even imagine what it's like to not have people of color who are popular. Yeah. I mean, this you were not popular. It doesn't matter how good you were at blues, at rhythm and blues. If you were really funky, you had to, in secret, work with white musicians.
Well, I was surprised, and I might be getting a little bit ahead of me, but I was surprised to find out that there were segregated music stations. There were black music stations, white music stations. So I'm sure the white music stations would not play blues, and vice versa. With the black stations would not play country music.
Right. Back in the 1930s and 1940s, Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys were promoting Western swing. Okay, so you got country singing and steel guitar, but with the big band influences and horn sections and bringing us all together. And so the white man, the white musicians are hearing this awesome bass and rhythm and saying, yeah, I want some of that. Yeah. Wills is quoted as saying, rock and roll, why, man, we've been doing that for since 1928, and just the rhythm that comes there. There was a nationwide boogie craze starting in 1938, so my research says. Boogie, those who can define it, most of them are gone now. It's getting moving, right? Yeah. To boogie, getting you up. And
even the members of the band would be jumping around and hooting and hollering.
Right. Yeah. It's the performance part of it. We want to talk about that later, too. It says here the Maddox brothers were at the leading edge of rockabilly with the slap bass of Fred Maddox. Okay, so something that was to bring this honky-tonk feel is just bringing it from the low end up, the bass.
Now, Fred Maddox, he played the upright bass using the slap bass technique as early as 1937.
Wow. So you're slapping the strings, you're not just strumming across, picking them. You're getting your chord, you're getting your tune, and then you're smacking it. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Maddox brothers.
Yeah.
They played hillbilly music. And they played real loud for that time.
That's interesting to bring the volume up. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were known for their antics on stage. I'm quoting from, of course, Wikipedia. The demonstrative Maddoxes help release white bodies from traditional motions of decorum. So they would get people up and about dancing. And they were not only at the leading edge, it says, but they were one of the first rockabilly groups. So the Maddox brothers, of course, they were brothers, and then there was Rose, which was their sister. Cool. So they were known as Maddox brothers and Rose. Now, they had a song called Sally, Let Your Bangs Hang Down.
Ooh.
Now, I don't know if you listened to this.
No, I haven't heard that one.
This had risque lyrics. Now, I'm not sure when they recorded this. I think it was probably late 1930s, 40s. So it starts off, met a gal from old Kentucky. She was happy and go lucky. She called me honey bunny just to make me spend my money. So this guy's enamored with this girl. He's chasing this girl. But these lyrics for this time period, I'll find out what Sally's got that makes the boys think she's so hot.
Wow.
Kind of derogatory now. But
well, and it could be more specific back then, like, because it wasn't known, like, she's hot.
Yeah.
Like, to be more specific, I'm getting hot.
Yeah. And then now I caught Sally changing clothes. She was in a perfect pose. Sally caught me peeking in, but I don't think it was a sin. And then it goes, Sally, let your bangs hang down. And then eventually in the song, she hopped up on my pony and she ran away with Tony. So, she takes off with another guy. Sally caught me looking at her, changing her clothes.
Right. So So Jim, these lyrics are being played with music, but they're not being still and just sitting there or just standing there like your typical country white guy playing country. This band you're talking about, they are known for their quote unquote antics on stage. So what's the goal here? What we're seeing with the mix of styles together to make rockabilly is that they're being aggressive, they're being experimental and wild physically. They're actually on stage being physical. I mean, they weren't doing that before. Think about classical. Think about the other things I mentioned. They're performing their music. It's for your ears only and not for your visual. They were going wild.
Oh yeah, it wasn't refined, and they this song is very, very fast. There's hooting and hollering in the beginning of it. It's you hear Rose like yelling out stuff in the song, and it's a great song, so if you check it out.
Right, and so we've got some examples of them blending the styles, them blending the genres to make and create rockabilly. I want to refer to Zeb Turner. This is in 1953, and just using a mix of musical styles and lyrics, and just really a guitar solo, and bringing that all together. Bill Monroe, a band I was in, an ancient folk band. My band leader at the time, he knows Bill Monroe well as the father of bluegrass. So bluegrass is known for not having that low end. Not having a lot of bass and not having drums. You don't have drums. We might bang on the.
I think a banjo.
Yeah, it's all mid to high, and so to bring in your ballads and other things, it's an influence there, but it's straight rock and roll. Rock and roll progresses far from that. The honky tonk sound. What's your first experience with honky tonk? Honky tonk. Watching the Waltons on Thursdays at 8. Yeah. Okay? Big dilemma in the family.
Well, also, I would say hee-haw for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Picking and a grinning.
But if you watch the Waltons in the 70s, it was a big family dilemma. I mean, they almost, Jason almost was excommunicated from the family. Why? Because he played piano down at the... I can't remember the name of the bar. Okay. But he played piano at honky tonk style down at the bar for money. That was his first job.
I think of a honky tonk also as a place.
Right. That plays honky
at the honky tonk.
Right, but they play honky tonk music. That's what they do there. Yeah. And so it was a lot of this stuff. You think about people who are conservative in their thoughts. They didn't want anything to do with jazz. They didn't want anything to do with honky tonk. Because what you're doing, you read your lyrics about Sally, and I mean this is a cultural shift. It's huge to be talking about and playing and singing loudly things that you're normally just thinking of. Yeah. So honky tonk, of course, is energetic and up tempo. I'm hearing the piano. People who really brought honky tonk that it says hillbilly boogie. Okay, so it's hillbilly and boogie together. Were the Maddox brothers and Rose you talked about, Merle Travis, Hank Williams, Hank Snow, and then Tennessee Ernie Ford.
Now, do you think like honky tonk originate? Like I watch a lot of westerns, and the Wild Wild West. When was that? Like
late 1800s and going into.
And there's always a piano player and the fast notes and that kind of
and that's and so ragtime is a style of piano that's played really rapidly like that too. So you got ragtime, but let's just say ragtime is really super fast piano playing, but to bring in the band and to bring in songwriting like you just talked about as an example, it's a feel, the honky tonk,
and that was more instrumental, I think, the ragtime.
Yes, it was
to add lyrics.
So, referencing here, Curtis Gordon in 1953. He's got a song, Rompin' and a Stompin'. And then it talks about way down south where I was born, they rocked all night till the early morn. They started rocking and a rollin'. End quote. Rocking and a rollin'. I mean, is this the beginning of the phrase rock and roll?
Well, I can tell you, a guy by the name of Alan Freed, he had a radio show. He was the first person that I guess brought it out to a huge audience the term rock and roll. He's the one that supposedly coined it, but he may have heard it. Maybe he heard it from someone, but he's the one that they...
Right. And the title, the designation of the genre, rock and roll, it's movement. You're rocking, you're moving, you're rolling. It's just a constant movement.
You might be rolling back and forth or shuffling.
Don't know.
Could have been called rock and shuffle, you know.
And so, Jim, I thought it was interesting, and I didn't know if you want to talk about this later, but the themes, you know, the lyrical themes within rockabilly, you know, what are they writing about? There's nothing subtle. There's nothing disguised. It's just... we're going to have a good time, and you can hear it through the ages, through the decades to present day rockabilly. It's a staple. It's a defining element.
It makes you feel good,
right?
You listen to rockabilly,
and you'll hear their lyrics, right? The Stray Cats. I mean, you'll just hear it. We're gonna rock. We're out to have a good time. Yeah. I mean, that is the lyrics. The lyrics is what I'm doing. Yeah. You know, I think that's fascinating. Moving on to Carl Perkins. This is him and his brother Jay and Clayton Perkins. They have the Perkins Brothers Band, and they were one of the hottest bands. They have a phrase, "Get hot or go home." You know, it's the hot. They played in the Tennessee honky tonk circuit, and just aggressive. They did jived up versions of Hank Williams standards, and they played it faster. So they're playing it faster and harder, and guess what? People liked it. Yeah, right. That made it popular. It says here in some research that I did, it says that Carl was always watching the dance floor at all times to see a reaction and to see that the more rhythmically driving style was what the kids were liking. It's what the people were liking. That, you know, you could sing a ballad to them, but then they quiet down, they listen. But if you really want to get them going, you know, you have that driving rhythm. It's funny. Carl was sending demos to New York companies who kept rejecting him, and sometimes they would explain that this strange style was it didn't fit any commercial trend. Which, you know, we look back now, it's ironic. And then, of course, that changed with the recording of the song "Blue Suede Shoes" in 1955. So this is Tennessee. It's interesting. A lot of the rockabilly stuff here, a lot of stuff's happening in the Tennessee area. You know, Memphis, places like that. There was something in Memphis, downtown Memphis. This was 1953, 1954. It was called the Saturday Night Jamboree, and they would come and obviously on Saturday night and just jam. And there was people who would come: Elvis Presley, Johnny and Dorsey Burnett, Charlie Feathers, just an array of people would come there. So every Saturday night in 1953, people would be there and they would experiment with new sounds. And they were mixing fast country. So you're taking your country, but probably just taking the fast part of it, not the slow ballads. Fast gospel, blues, and boogie woogie. Little side note, you know, I was thinking about country, and they just mentioned gospel in here. The only difference between country and gospel is the subject matter, right? It's what are you talking about, you know? And so a lot of this does stray from gospel. But of course, from then all the way up to now, people are doing music in church just like the same kind of music as anywhere else, just talking about something different. So here at the Saturday Night Jamboree, talking about people just experimenting, bringing their new licks. So the name rockabilly, you know, we talked about rock and roll, rocking and a rolling. But we see here, I found this really interesting, Jim, that the name rockabilly, there was the Rockabilly Boogie as a song. And it was the Burnett's, Johnny and Dorsey. Now, Johnny and Dorsey both had children during this time. And believe it or not, one was named Rocky and the other was named Billy. Yeah. That's weird. Wow. So they're writing the Rockabilly Boogie. It wasn't recorded until later, but people were getting that. They were getting it live. They were hearing about the rockabilly. Yeah, they said unfortunately it wasn't recorded because maybe if they recorded it, you know, in the early 50s. Yeah. I mean, they obviously might have coined the term
rockabilly.
It was 4 years later that it was recorded. In those 4 years, the culture's changing. The people are hearing rockabilly.
Yeah, we wonder when the term rockabilly actually came into existence. I mean, it could have...
Well, it blends in, that's what I'm saying. It kind of blends in. People hear about it, talk about it from Tennessee.
Yeah, because I think when, with Carl Perkins, of course, Blue Suede Shoes.
Yeah.
When Elvis recorded it, I don't even know if they were, at that time, they were calling it rockabilly. They just didn't know what it was.
Right.
The Burnett's, I don't know if you... No, Mike and I, we listen to, there's a playlist on Apple Music.
Right.
It's Rockabilly Essentials. There's 100 songs in there. Some newer, some really old.
You find some common themes, common things with musically as well.
But the one song that Train Kept a Rollin'.
It's unique.
The guitar in that, and we're going to get into this because it has a distorted sound.
Right.
I'm like, what is, like, that had to be like nothing anybody had ever heard of before.
Right. If you hear it now, you'd say, okay, I can take it or leave it. It's distortion.
Yeah.
But back then they were purists. You would never make a note or a sound that sounded worse and distorted.
Yeah.
It'd be like me muffling my voice right now.
So this was the first time we heard a distorted guitar.
Right.
Probably.
Right.
And there is a story about this.
And you listeners know a Train Kept a Rollin'. We'll talk about more about it.
The use of distortion on a rock and roll record was more accurately Rocket 88 by Jackie Brenston and the Delta Cats.
Those cool cats.
Now, there's a legend behind this, how the sound came about. Guitarist Willie Kizart's amplifier was damaged on Highway 61 when the band was driving from Mississippi to Memphis, Tennessee. An attempt was made to hold the cone in place.
Speaker cone.
Yeah, the speaker cone, by stuffing the amplifier with wadded newspapers, which unintentionally created a distorted sound.
Right. So,
a lot of great things, inventions sometimes are created by mistake.
So when they heard that, Jim, I bet you some people in the band didn't like it. Again, it was like a muffled sound. And so, but then those who were on the cutting edge would say, that's different. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And
over time, as stories go, people, I think, they have different versions of how this speaker was damaged, which is interesting.
Yeah.
One person thought it had fallen from the top of the car. And then a guy by Ike Turner, I'm going to say a guy by the name of Ike Turner. We know Ike Turner. He stated that the amplifier, I don't know if he was there. I don't know if these people were there. They're just, I assume maybe he was there. That the amplifier was in the trunk of the car and that rain may have caused the damage. So they're all making up different stories about how this started. I think maybe
depends who was there.
Or maybe
right?
they all wanted to say, "I was there. I was there when distortion started."
So Train Kept a Rollin'. You've got various artists over the years doing that, and I was listening to some. I thought it was interesting. You've got Aerosmith, the Yardbirds.
Oh, the Aerosmith version's great.
Yeah. I was trying to find my favorite version. In fact,
now, do you know if Kesha ever did that? I was curious.
Yeah, Kesha with the dollar sign.
Yeah, the dollar sign Kesha.
Dollar sign Kesha.
I don't think she did that one.
Yeah. There, if you search Apple Music, you'll find I think 7 different versions by 7 different people of Train Kept a Rollin'. But there's something special about that song.
Not as recorded as much as White Christmas, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So I think we should talk about the person who was the most famous. And that would be Elvis Presley.
Yeah. So let's talk about Elvis.
So Elvis, when he recorded That's All Right, Mama, that was one of the first songs he recorded. The legend is that he went into the recording studio. There was this recording studio. I forget what they were charging. It was very low. It was like $3 for a recording. You can go in and record a song or two. Yeah. So the legend is that he went in to record a couple songs for his mother. the time period is a little off because it was supposed to be for her birthday.
Yeah.
So Elvis went in, and so they started messing around with this song.
Mm-hmm.
And the engineer didn't know, what they were doing.
Right.
But he kind of liked it, and he had him do it, I think, a couple more times.
Mm-hmm. I think they were physically jumping around. He said they were just kind of going wild, right? It wasn't just musically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't know what it was. Because he took this song, I think it was That's All Right Mama was written, not by Elvis, of course.
Yeah, it was recorded in 1946, first recording of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in this song, he married black and white genres to an extent that it was denied airplay on white country radio stations and black R&B stations, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, so it's not getting played on either place. Yeah, but especially wouldn't be played on white stations that... Yeah.
So when the song was finally played by one rogue DJ, Dewey Phillips, Presley's recording created so much excitement it was described as having waged war on segregated radio stations.
Yeah. And we don't think of Elvis as, plowing the way and doing the work to desegregate, but musically he was here.
And this was Presley singing halfway between a country western R&B rock and roll style. They said sent teenagers into a trance.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that, but
it's a good song, but it's not a song that I guess back then when you heard this song,
right?
But it doesn't really knock me out,
Right, and since we're mentioning Elvis here, I really see Elvis as with his popularity, kind of the beginnings of rock and roll, like going into the wildness that is rock and roll. And we know it because of, just the way he moved, just moving his hips, dancing around, again, not just doing music, but performing. I remember when I was young and went to my friend's house, and I went there to visit, and just down the street, and his mother was crying. And it was 1977.
Yes, when Elvis died.
Yeah, and I said to my friend, I said, "What's wrong? Is she okay?" And he said, "Yeah, just somebody, some musician or somebody died."
Wow.
Like, oh, okay, and that was it. But she was distraught, and it was a day that Elvis died, so it didn't mean as much to me. I was pretty young, and just getting into a little bit of rock and roll, which he had a great part in, but I was into some classic hard rock a little bit, but not really understanding.
You were like 12.
Yeah, not really understanding the.
It meant more to me because my mom loved Elvis. We had Elvis albums and the Elvis Christmas album.
So you knew him even by 12.
Oh yeah, I knew who Elvis Presley was.
I did not.
We went to Graceland. I want to say it was the next year. It was the first year that Graceland opened. And it was so soon after his death that supposedly his maid, I guess she didn't have anywhere to go. She was still living there. My parents talked to her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's get in a little bit more about Elvis.
Okay.
And this has to do with early rockabilly. At the time, nobody was sure what to call Presley's music.
Right, because it's radical. It's radical.
And Elvis was described at the time as the hillbilly cat and king of Western bop.
Cat and bop. This is like a whole new lingo.
I mean, he was later described as the king of rock and roll.
Yeah, and we know what that means.
But the king of Western bop,
Trying to make sense out of it, aren't they?
By the end of 1954, Presley was now using drums, as did many other rockabilly performers.
Wow.
Drums were then uncommon in country music.
Yeah. So the bluegrass and the country, both white man standing and playing a guitar and storytelling, not the drums behind him.
Yeah, when you listen to, going way back, like Hank Williams, and like if you think about it, you don't hear, what you might hear is a little bit of, you would know more than me because you're a drummer, like that brush, I don't know what you call it, if it's called a brush, like that brush kind of,
yeah. So they would, and if they had a drummer, they would make sure that he plays super soft and not put any mics by him. So it's, it was very subtle. Yeah, definitely.
And then in 1951, a Western swing band leader named Bill Haley recorded a version of Rocket 88 with his group, the Saddlemen. Now, this is considered one of the earliest recognized rockabilly recordings, Rockabilly 88. And, of course, Bill Haley went on to record Rock Around the Clock, and that was on April 12th, 1954. And the recording was, until the late 1990s, recognized by the Guinness World Records as having the highest sales claim for a pop vinyl recording.
Wow.
With an unaudited claim of 25 million copies sold.
Wow.
And that was huge. And I think of Bill Haley, Happy Days,
yeah,
you know, Rock Around. I think they changed the theme. I think it was 2 different Bill Haley songs.
Jim, since you mentioned pop music, I just want to throw this out there. You know, people, and maybe some people just getting into music, some people who are quite young, might think of pop as a certain genre, where actually, you know, pop is just short for popular.
Yeah.
You know, and so from the 40s to 2020, I mean, this whole time, pop music is the popular music of the time. Like in the 70s, pop music isn't what pop music is now.
Yeah, they just didn't call it pop music.
Well, it's the popular music of the time. And so, and that's what, if you want to climb the ladder of success musically, that's where you were headed towards, the top of the pop charts.
Yeah.
You know, to be popular. And so I'm just saying that pop is not an actual genre or style. Pop is the popular music of the time.
Yeah,
and
that's any
that's
genre of music,
and that's where we're at here, you know, in the 50s, in the mid 50s, you know,
And I was interested in the term rockabilly. They claim was coined by the Maine native and Connecticut resident, Bill Flagg.
Okay.
He began using the term rockabilly for his combination of rock and roll and hillbilly music as early as 1953.
Wow. Yeah.
So Bill Haley, 1951, they say has one of the earliest recognized rockabilly recordings, but they didn't call it rockabilly at the time. And then back to Carl Perkins with Blue Suede Shoes.
Yeah.
It sold 20,000 records a day at one point. Now, this is the Carl Perkins version, I'm assuming, not Elvis. It was the first million-selling country song to cross over to both rhythm and blues and pop charts.
It's important to note here, too, Jim, that, you know, we're far removed from the time that was pre-internet and pre-social media. So if you go back before the early 90s, even, you know, how did these people, remember, these people don't, these people have 3 things, basically. You can go out and see them live and say, wow, that was good. Did you guys see that? Yeah. You could hear them on a radio station. So you've got to have a radio and you got to listen to some good stations. Or you could buy the vinyl. You know, you've got to buy that vinyl. And so you would see the popularity of people. It's only going to spread as fast as people can see them. People can buy their stuff, or even bigger, it starts to move across the radio waves. But it's slower than now. It's slower, and it's different than today.
I think it, a lot depend on radio airplay.
Right.
I know when we were growing up, listen to the radio. That's how I heard a lot of new bands. Right. New albums, and then
you could buy vinyl.
Store. Yeah, you'd have to write it down, what you wanted.
And then if you could travel or had money, you could see them live. But really, it was radio mostly, and then buying the albums.
Yeah, and I don't think I want to say people didn't really travel too far to see concerts.
No,
I mean you weren't getting on a plane and flying or even traveling like 3 hours.
So they'd be regionally popular. Like if you lived near Memphis, you could get into a lot more, and Nashville has become such a hub. But if you're in Wyoming or North Dakota,
you'd have to hope that they came to your town.
But they're probably not. Yeah.
So when I was listening to the Apple Music playlist, there was a song called "Long Gone Daddy" by a guy named Pat Cupp, Cupp. So I looked him up. I found him on Facebook, And he recorded this song when he was 17 years old, back in the 50s. And he was nice enough to respond when I told him we were going to talk about the song. And this is what Pat Cupp had to say. He said, I was the tender age of 17 when I started writing that song. I was still in high school, and a friend happened to call me that name, Long Gone Daddy, after an encounter with a girl I liked at the time. I did not know at the time that Hank Williams had also had a song with the same title.
Mm-hmm.
After almost a year, I had a short version of Long Gone Daddy. Long story short, I got into rockabilly music and was doing local shows with a few of the greats and wound up with a recording contract with RPM Records. At the recording session, they told me that the song was too short. My mother, who was my piano player, quickly wrote the last verse in order to make it a longer song, and had to do that on most of my recordings that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, there it is, stuff no one ever really knows about. Thanks for asking, and tell all your fans I send a big hello. So I responded how it's such a great recording of that song, and I said you kind of sound a little like Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
And Pat replied, ha, on Elvis. All rockabilly artists in 1956 sound a little like Elvis. That's just how that music was supposed to sound. Didn't need another Pat Boone. And he says, my hero of that time was really Carl Perkins. Carl, Johnny Cash, and I did shows together in the beginning.
Wow.
And he says it was really exciting for me, but at the same time, I didn't realize the guys I did shows with would become the icons that they did. There were ups and downs, but mostly fun. So Pat gave us permission to play Long Gone Daddy, which we're going to do right now. So here's Pat Cupp with Long Gone Daddy.
I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy. Well, I'm a long gone daddy and I'm long gone for you. Used to be a happy-go-lucky guy, never blue, didn't know how to cry, but now if you left me, I know I'd weep because my ever-loving mama is oh so sweet. Well, I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, and I'm long gone for you. Yeah, you took my hand and you held me tight, and then you loved me with all of your might. Looked into your eyes to see, and you look like a real gone mama to me. Well, I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy. Oh, mama, I'm a long gone daddy, and I'm long gone for you. They used to say a woman wasn't true. All a woman done was make a fool out of you. Now I understand why a guy ain't free when a cute little baby meets a daddy like me. Well, I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, and I'm long gone for you. Let's go, boys. You took my hand and you held me tight, and then you loved me with all of your might. Looked into your eyes to see, and you look like a real gone mama to me. Well, I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, and I'm long gone for you. I used to say a woman wasn't true. All a woman done is make a fool out of you. Now I understand why a guy ain't free when a cute little baby meets a daddy like me. Well, I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, 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 I'm a long gone daddy, and I'm long gone for you.
Each podcast we end up talking about the Beatles for some reason.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Are you really going to bring the Beatles into this?
Yeah. Now, the first wave of rockabilly fans in the United Kingdom, they were called Teddy Boys.
That's a new term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there was a certain style with rockabilly. Now, they wore long Edwardian-style frock coats, along with tight black drain pipe trousers, and I assume they're like skinny, what we call skinny pants.
Yeah, skinny
now.
jeans.
And brothel creeper shoes. I don't know what those
Who's
are.
creeping the brothels?
They might have been like a kind of a Doc Marten, maybe. And they adopted the classic greaser look of T-shirts, jeans, and leather jackets to go with their heavily slicked pompadour haircuts. And one of the most notable bands was the Beatles. That's how they started playing rockabilly, that type of music. You know, sort of like Gene Vincent. Gene Vincent and Eddie Cochran. They were pretty big, short period of time in the UK. They did a tour over there.
Was Eddie Cochran more known in the UK than in the US?
No, he was known in the US. Concert promoter booked Gene Vincent for, I think, 6 weeks. I just watched a documentary. I'll get into that a little later. But he was paid the equivalent today of $40,000 a week.
That's huge.
So Eddie Cochran was up and coming in the U.S. He was on some TV shows. And they wanted to get Eddie Cochran. They didn't know how much Eddie would want. Well, and I forget the exact price at the time, but it was the equivalent of $12,000 a week. So they got Eddie and Gene, but I found it interesting and that when John Lennon first met Paul McCartney, he was impressed that McCartney knew all the chords and the words to Eddie Cochran's 20 Flight Rock.
Wow.
Which is a great song.
Yeah.
And when the Beatles became worldwide stars, they released versions of 3 different Carl Perkins songs. And I know the early Beatles don't sound quite as the later Beatles. You know, they were doing cover tunes. They were playing the Cavern Club, and they were doing stuff like that.
And they like it cutting edge because it's already cutting edge. You know, it sounds funny, rockabilly. You know, it's cutting edge, but it was, and the Beatles were cutting edge at the time, and just looking for what's next. The next level to take it musically.
And even after they broke up, they still showed interest in rockabilly. In 1975, John Lennon recorded an album called Rock and Roll, featuring versions of rockabilly hits and a cover photo showing him in full Gene Vincent leather. Wow. I remember that cover.
Like the chaps you're wearing right now. Yeah.
Now, with rockabilly, back then there were certain terms.
Words that we don't use today still?
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of quiz Mike on this a little bit.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Jim, you've got some questions for me here. You're going to see if I know...
These are some terms. Says the year is 1955. Movie Rebel Without a Cause and the beginning of rock and roll music have inspired a whole generation of teen rebels.
And my mother and father are teens at this time, so that's what I'm picturing.
Okay,
yeah.
So they might have used some of these terms.
Yeah. It's hard to picture that probably.
Okay,
they were cool. They were cool cats.
So we got. Are you writing a book?
Are you writing a book? Is that a phrase that I'm supposed to guess?
Yeah.
Are you doing some songwriting?
Are you asking too many questions?
Are you writing a book?
This one is a good one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I love this. Backseat bingo.
Backseat bingo. You're with your date and you're exploring with your hands.
You're necking in a car.
Yeah, hey, that was close.
Yeah, got one. Okay, the term Betty.
Betty. Let's see. So we got Betty Boop. I think she was around in the 20s or 30s.
But if you called someone a Betty.
Yeah, I know. Just a Betty. Someone who's loose and ready for a good time.
No, you're thinking too hard into that. A person of the female persuasion. Let's see. What do we got here? You probably know this one. Burn rubber.
Spin your tires and impress the girls. But it really didn't impress the girls. It was impressing the boys. Yeah.
Cat.
Someone who's hip, up on it. Cool.
Right, a hip person.
Yeah.
Cherry.
Oh, wow, that's a difficult...
That's
I'm gonna
just tell you.
I'm gonna have to say it's what's on top of the ice cream float and whipped cream.
Well, it was. They served that in diners.
Yeah.
It's an unaltered car. And later, anything attractive.
Yeah, unaltered. So it's a stock car that was.
Yeah,
that
it's
was
cherry.
Nice. Yeah, cherry. Yeah, okay, yeah. I did hear that, but that's been decades. Yeah.
Classy chassis.
It's a car that's attractive, and I like your car. It's a classy chassis.
I mean, it's a great body. I think we're talking about a woman. But we need
wow.
to bring some of these terms
classy
back.
chassis.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Getting some trim, Jim.
How about dig?
Yeah, that's groovy. You're really into it. You're interested in it.
Yeah, you understand.
Yeah.
Eyeball.
Eyeball. Well,
Yeah.
it's a verb. You're just going to look at. I'm going to go with a human, a girl, and check her out.
Let's just look around.
Yeah.
Your eyeball.
I was being a little too specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
Yeah. This is groovy. This is like out of sight, you know?
It is, man. Cat.
Cool for cats.
You hip to be square.
Yeah.
I got a hot rod and it's ready to percolate. Okay, that's not one. Sorry. That's actually a quote from the Honeymoon.
That's a coffee metaphor along with an automobile metaphor. You're mixing your metaphors.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Go ape.
Go wild, go crazy, go insane.
Yeah. Get excited.
Get excited, yeah. Go ape. That's interesting. It reminds me of George Costanza, but that's, for another day.
Let's see here.
Go ape.
Well, we know hep, with it, cool.
Hep, cool.
Someone who knows the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Knuckle sandwich.
Yeah, getting punched squarely in the jaw. Yep.
Yeah, fist to the face.
Yeah.
This, I don't know why this is. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, did they say that in the 50s?
Well, I've heard that. And meanwhile, back at the ranch. How would I explain that one? Let me think. I mean, it's kind of just while you were talking about something else, this is what we're doing. I mean, while you're off.
You're close. Usually used to get a storyteller back on track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peepers.
Peepers are your eyes.
Glasses.
Oh, I got that wrong. They're glasses?
Yeah. I thought that they could be eyes, too.
Well, I was thinking Susie and the Banshees. Where'd you get those peepers?
Royal shaft. These are
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So it's a noun. It's something you get, as in I got the royal shaft.
She gave me the royal shaft.
No, let me try and figure it out. You're dissed, as they say, 15 years ago. You're disrespected. You're dropped.
Badly or unfairly treated.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
Give myself something for that. There we go.
Okay, we'll end with this one.
Yeah.
Wet rag.
Okay, you gave me a hard one to end on here. Wet rag. So wet rag is limp and it's useless. It's not strong. So a wet rag would be a guy who's a wimp, not strong.
It's someone who's just no fun.
No fun. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So Jim, thinking about rockabilly and going over some of the history here, it's really been great. It's been educational. Just really thinking about the base that was formed for rock and roll and for all the other things that came after it. But there's still people doing rockabilly today.
Yeah.
But before I get to that, my first experience with rockabilly, hearing it on the radio. Because I was just concerned, as a young adult, as a teenager, hard rock and roll,
mm-hmm.
and then you and I got into punk and new wave and alternative.
Yeah.
But in the midst of all that, the Stray Cats come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I remember hearing in it was 1981 is the Stray Cat Strut and Rock This
early
Town.
80s.
Right. And 1981, I was even thinking it was mid 80s, but it's 81, and for them to be doing that in the midst of goth, this is the midst of new wave.
Yeah. Well, I think they were. I think it was probably more around 83. Mm-hmm. They became popular. I mean, their first albums were before that.
Yeah.
But I think because I know I saw the Stray Cats in 83.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it was at this little place in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
I think it was Kirby Fieldhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Where Mike and I saw
That's Lafayette College, yeah.
Bill Cosby.
Yeah, Lafayette College. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, just want to mention the Stray Cats. They formed in 1979, and so the album that I reference was 1981, and then the years that followed. So original, you had 6 guys in the band, but there's 3 people, 3 original members who continue, and that's Brian Setzer, Slim Jim Phantom, and Lee Rocker.
Yeah.
And they continue, to be
Yeah.
Stray Cats.
Yeah, and they just put out, believe it or not, like a month ago,
Wow.
a live album. I want to say it's called From LA to London. And they did reunite several years ago. I should have gone to see them, and hopefully they'll get back together again. But it's an incredible live album. It captures the energy, everything.
So much energy in the Stray Cats doing rockabilly, and just to be able to, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. How are they able to so forcefully in the 80s, right there, boom, right up into the pop charts?
Yeah, they were like, I mean, who knew how many? I mean, I'm sure there were other rockabilly people still playing rockabilly.
Yeah,
but they were creating original rockabilly songs.
Right.
And so that's, that for us, I think for both of us, we had never heard maybe even the term. Like I heard.
Or didn't care at age 20.
Well, I heard Blue Suede Shoes, but I didn't say, oh, that's a great rockabilly song. I didn't know the term rockabilly.
Right.
They never said that on the radio, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
The Stray Cats live album, I want to say it's 20-some songs.
Wow.
And they do have a song, which they do play. I'm not sure if they play every show, but it's been around for a while. It's I think it's called "Rockin' with Gene and Eddie," and it's an ode to Gene Vincent and Eddie Cochran.
Yeah.
So that's obviously a big influence on them.
Now, last time I saw on video, Brian Setzer's hair, was as big as his head. I mean, it was just huge. And the video?
Yeah, Tear It Up.
Yeah.
If you go on YouTube, because I don't think it's available. It's a short video. It's 18 minutes.
Documentary stuff.
Yeah, documentary on rockabilly.
It's called Tear It Up.
If you want,
you guys got to check it out.
If you don't have a lot of time, in 18 minutes, just to learn some of the history, they interview, a lot of the older. I think it's got to be from the 80s. There's a guy they interview. He's since passed away. His name was Sleepy LaBeef.
You got to love that name.
So I'm going to segue kind of into.
Do his neighbors address him as Sir LaBeef? So
now you think, okay, this is a totally made up name, right?
Yeah.
LaBeef.
Yeah.
That's his real last name. I don't know what his real first name was.
Is it capital B or is it small b? Is it just LaBeef? It's
capital L-E beef.
Capital B?
Yeah.
Like LaBeef.
Yeah, LaBeef.
Yeah, the beef. It means the beef. Yeah.
So rockabilly, you got to have a great rockabilly name. And I'm going to bring up a guy we just interviewed. His name is Jittery Jack.
Yeah, great guy.
Out of Massachusetts.
Boston area right now.
Yeah. So check out that interview, which was we put out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, right before this.
And so...
Still, Jittery Jack's still doing it today. Great band with him. Great guitarist, Amy. It's fabulous. And you'll hear his take on what's going on in the scene today.
Yeah, we talk about Martin Guitar, which is near us, and also we talk about beer, and we talk about rockabilly. So
find out whether he likes it hoppy or if he likes a good lager.
So you have to have a good name in rockabilly, I think.
Sleepy LaBeef. Can you beat that? I mean, can anybody beat that?
We've got Narvel Feltz, right?
Okay, Narvel Feltz. I can say it.
We got Jamie James and the Swinging Cats. Sid King and the Five Strings.
Oh, that's cool.
We got Jack Cochran. So I found out there are some people that took on the last name Cochran, if they're doing rockabilly.
Name recognition. Yeah.
What I love is this one, Peanuts Wilson. Okay?
Peanuts.
So Peanuts Wilson, I almost said Peanuts LaBeef. That would be a good one. So the Apple Music playlist, Rockabilly Essentials. Mm-hmm. If you get a chance, you want to listen to the best rockabilly. Someone compiled 100 songs, rockabilly songs, mm-hmm. and I picked out some that stood out to me mm-hmm. for one reason or another. Mm-hmm. I like odd songs. We like odd songs.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Peanuts Wilson in 1957, he recorded 2 songs. Mm-hmm. And his career didn't go very far, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if he still, like, played.
He's working for Peanuts.
But he literally, I'm pretty sure, only recorded, like, 2 songs. But one mm-hmm. of these songs is on the 100 list, and it's called Cast Iron Fist. Now, Mike, I don't know if you listen to it.
No.
Okay.
Cast Iron Fist.
Now, I'll get back to the song in a minute, but Peanuts, his real name was Johnny Wilson. He's from Texas. Mm-hmm. And interesting thing is he was a member of Roy Orbison's group, the Teen Kings, in 1956. What happened was, like I said, he recorded 2 songs, and then he later became a country music songwriter. So he decided to write songs.
Right.
So this song is about this guy and his date, mm-hmm. and they're going bowling.
Okay, yeah. Starts out typical here.
Yeah, and all these guys he's got this really good-looking girlfriend. Mm-hmm. A lot of the rockabilly, not all of them. You know,
got a picture of the nice rods. You know, that's a car. The nice rods and the shakes and burgers and bowling alley. Got it.
Well, I think it's a bowling. I thought it was a bar at first until I realized he was talking about bowling. Yeah. Actually, just in the beginning of the song, so mm-hmm. they're going bowling. Yeah. And all these guys are looking at his girl, and he wants to start a fight. And he's got this cast iron fist, right?
I see where that's going.
And the odd thing about this song, there's an old guy. I'm sure it's not an old guy. It could be Peanuts, mm-hmm. but he'll do the lyrics, and then the song kind of goes down a little, and you'll hear this old guy, and all of a sudden goes, "Punch him in the head," and then the song continues. And it's just the weirdest thing. But I imagine him with, like a cast iron fist, like an actual cast iron fist. But I think it's a term for, he has a good punch or something.
Good solid punch, yeah.
The other one is Wanda Jackson. Now, the other thing is there's not too many, for some reason, women mm-hmm. rockabilly artists. On this list I found, we got Wanda Jackson. She's probably the most famous.
Right.
So I'm sure most people have heard of Wanda Jackson. And mm-hmm. You got Janice Martin. You got Barbara Pittman, who did I Need a Man. Mm-hmm. And Amelia May, who we talk about in an interview with Jittery Jack. There's a connection with Amelia May. Mm-hmm. She is an Irish rockabilly artist. Fairly new. Mm-hmm. She's sang with Sinead O'Connor on stage. Mm-hmm. So those are the only 4 I think I could find on the list of the top 100 female artists. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the last one is still performing today?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's still doing something, yeah.
So one other song here is mm-hmm. Fujiyama Mama.
Yeah.
It's, Wanda Jackson, 1957. Now, this was an R&B song written by Jack Hammer in 1954, mm-hmm. and it's best known as a cover recorded by Wanda Jackson in 57. And the song, in which the protagonist compares herself to a sexually charged atom bomb, was never a hit in the United States. And Jackson's rockabilly-styled cover, however, became a major hit in Japan in the post-World War II era.
After they were bombed. That is really ironic.
Despite explicit references to the devastation of Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Wow.
She said, "I drink a quart of sake, smoke dynamite. I chase it with tobacco." I love that, tobacco.
Yeah, tobacco.
And then shoot out the lights.
Wow.
Because I'm a Fujiyama mama, and I'm just about to blow my top. Fujiyama Yama Mama. I can't even say it.
Fujiyama Mama.
Fujiyama Yama Fujiyama.
Yeah.
And when I start erupting, ain't nobody gonna make me stop.
Well, she's saying it like the men. I mean, she's spelling it all out there. I mean, just put it all out there. So, yeah.
And then there's one last song I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Which I think is a mistake on the list.
Okay.
Now, believe it or not, I listened to 80 of the 100 songs on the list.
Wow.
I just went down the
You
list.
spent some time, Jim.
Yeah, most of them are only 2 minutes, you know.
Yeah. They
Well,
are
that's the other thing. A lot of rockabilly, yeah.
Yeah, it is short because,
They're mostly 3 chords, 4 chords.
Mm-hmm.
You do have some picking in there sometimes, but some of the songs are literally just 3 or 4 chords.
Yeah.
So you can basically
they're
write
2 to 3 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just,
So you can basically write your own rockabilly song.
Mm-hmm.
You just need the chords E, A, D, G, maybe a B. Throw a B in there.
Yeah. DCG.
Write a song about how you need a woman.
Yeah. And how you're going to rock it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a song in there. Now, there's a song by Gene Vincent called Race with the Devil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
This is not the Gene Vincent song. And I thought it was a newer song when I heard it, and I thought it almost sounds like heavy metal, right?
Yeah.
But it's from 1969.
69. That's okay. That's interesting.
And it's Race with the Devil by the band named Gun, or sometimes called The Gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's 60s progressive. It doesn't belong in there, but someone picked up on the title. It's a UK band.
It's not even rockabilly.
Yeah. Now, believe it or not, this band was renamed in 1967 from The Knack. They called themselves The Knack. And another thing is there was also another band in the U.S. in the 60s named The Knack in the 60s.
So the Knack that we know from 1980 or 79 is
not the first Knack.
No.
You learn something every day.
I wonder if that was part of the lingo back then. Get the Knack? I don't know. I have the Knack. Interesting.
I'm going to segue into Eddie Cochran with this great song. You have to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's called 20 Flight Rock. And that's the song that Paul McCartney impressed John Lennon with.
Wow.
And it's about a guy whose girlfriend, she lives on the 20th floor of a building.
Mm-hmm.
And the elevator's broke. Okay?
Yeah.
So the elevator's broke, and he says, so I'll walk 1, 2 flight, 3 flight, 4, 5, 6, 7 flight, 8 flight more. Up on the 20th, I'm starting to drag. 15th floor, I'm ready to sag. I'm sorry, 12th floor, I'm starting to drag.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the top, and I'm too tired to rock. When she calls me up on the telephone, say, come on over, honey, I'm all alone. I said, baby, you're mighty sweet, but I'm in bed with the aching feet. And this is just such a great song.
Too tired to rock.
And literally rock, it doesn't mean anything else. That she's up there with I think a record player or something. Yeah, record machine, he called it. And
I was assuming something else, but he thinks she's got a record machine.
Yeah, and there's a great progression in the 5, 6, 7 flight, 8 flight more. It's such a great song. Check it out, 20 Flight Rock, Eddie Cochran. So coming up next, I'm going to tell you all about Eddie Cochran.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Eddie Cochran.
Yeah, that sounds great.
For most people that may not have even heard of Eddie Cochran, he was one of the most influential rockabilly artists back in the 50s. Tragically, he died young. So sometimes you wonder if he had lived, would he have been as famous? I mean, even if some of you listeners out there haven't heard of him, you probably heard some of his songs, like Summertime Blues.
Oh, yeah.
Song Something Else, which was recorded by the Sex Pistols. That would be in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go into, everything about Eddie. Mm-hmm. He was born on October 3rd, 1938 in Albert Lee, Minnesota, to Alice and Frank R. Cochran. Mm-hmm. So that was his real name, Eddie Cochran. He took music lessons in school, but quit the band to play drums. So This is interesting because he is known for playing the guitar.
Yeah, started on drums then.
Yeah, and so also rather than taking piano lessons, he began learning guitar, playing country and other music he heard on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't want to take piano lessons, so he decided to play the guitar at that point. His family moved to Bell Gardens, California in 1952. So they moved from Minnesota to California. Not sure.
Cultural shift there, yeah. I mean, he would see a lot more in California. Maybe
a job change. He would have been, let's see, he was born in 38. He would have been 14, right?
Yeah.
38, 52.
Mm-hmm.
As his guitar playing improved, he formed a band with 2 friends from his junior high school. Now he dropped out of Bell Gardens High School in his first year to become a professional musician. Now that is dedication, and who knows if it was with the blessing of his parents, or maybe he was getting better and better, or with songwriting that he knew he had a shot. During a show featuring many performers at an American Legion Hall, he met Hank Cochran, a songwriter, and they were not related. They recorded as the Cochran Brothers, and they began performing together. They recorded a few singles for Echo Records that were fairly successful and helped to establish them as a performing act. And Eddie also worked as a session musician, and he began writing songs. And he made a demo with Jerry Capehart, which was his future manager. Mm-hmm. So in July 1956, Eddie Cochran's first solo artist single was released by Crest Records. It featured Skinny Jim. That was the song.
Oh.
And it says, now regarded as a rock and roll and hillbilly classic.
Probably where Slim Jim Phantom got his name.
Wait a minute. Now regarded as a rock and roll and rockabilly classic.
Okay.
I said hillbilly.
It's close.
Yeah. In the spring of 1956, Boris Petrov asked Cochran if he would appear in the musical comedy film The Girl Can't Help It. So things were moving along. We moved to California in 1952. Mm-hmm. 4 years later, he was, 18? Mm-hmm. 18 years old. He's appearing in a movie with Jane Mansfield.
Wow.
Who was huge at the time.
So he didn't go like in the middle of nowhere, California. He was where the action was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he knew
to make those connections and get in.
And he knew the right people. And he agreed and performed the song 20 Flight Rock in the movie, which we talked about before. Great song. Mm-hmm. And again, check that out, 20 Flight Rock. Now, this song was written by AMI staff writer Ned Fairchild. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is Ned was a woman. I don't know back then if they looked down on female songwriters.
Yeah.
Her name was Nelda Fairchild. Mm-hmm. So in the summer of 1957, Liberty Records issued Cochran's only studio album released during his lifetime.
Wow.
Singin' to My Baby. So you know what we're getting at. Eddie, unfortunately, died pretty young. Mm-hmm. So in 57, he would have been 19. And then in 1958, he seemed to find his stride in the famous teenage anthem Summertime Blues. And it was also co-written with Jerry Capehart. That was his manager. And Jerry wrote a song for Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
Turn Around, Look at Me. With this song, Cochran was established as one of the most important influences on rock and roll in the 1950s, both lyrically and musically. And again, with 20 Flight Rock, that song just lyrically, that's what makes a great song.
Yeah.
The lyrics and the music.
And it's called rock already at that point, so they're going with rock. Yeah.
Now, Eddie, was moving along here. He was getting really famous in the U.S. I saw a video of him on Dick Clark, and it wasn't called Bandstand. It was like Beech Nut something.
Beech Nut, the brand
of Hour.
Oh, Beech Nut, the brand of gum. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, Beech Nut
What's
gum.
Interesting,
the corporate sponsor. Yeah.
So it's interesting. I love going back and watching these old videos of these old. I love classic, like 50s. I love anything 50s. Mm-hmm. Dick Clark, for some reason, is in a wheelbarrow, and I didn't look into it. I don't know. There's another guy, because I'm like, I see the first guy, and I'm like, that's not Dick Clark.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, Dick Clark's in this wheelbarrow, and the guy pushes him out of the way in the wheelbarrow, so maybe it was for a skit.
Is this the
earlier.
hillbilly thing? Is this the rockabilly hillbilly
Maybe.
thing? Let's put him in a wheelbarrow and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have a corncob pipe in his mouth or anything.
Yeah.
So there's this big TV set, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the middle of it opens, like doors maybe, to reveal Eddie Cochran. And these steps, this is very innovative, I think,
for the time.
these steps come out of the bottom, like 3 steps come out of the bottom of the thing, and Eddie climbs down the steps, and the audience are on bleachers, right? From the left and from the right. As the song starts, the bleachers swing in left and right so that Eddie is in the middle, and he's singing to them.
Wow.
And I don't know if it was pre-recorded. There's no plug for his guitar.
Yeah. So you might be lip playing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So back to Eddie was becoming very popular with the teenage girls. I think I saw another video where he's singing to a girl.
Mm-hmm.
He's up in where they were sitting, and he's just singing this song to these girls. In early '59, 2 of Eddie's friends were Buddy Holly and Richie Valens.
It's impressive.
He knew Buddy pretty well. Supposedly, he was supposed to go on the tour that Buddy was doing, along with the Big Bopper, of course.
Yeah.
We all know what happened, tragically, with the plane crash. Pretty sure I heard that he got a gig on another TV show or something, and he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before Eddie did his tour in Britain with Gene Vincent. Cochran's friends and family later said that he was badly shaken by their deaths, and he developed a morbid premonition that he would also die young.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to go in that right now. I want to go over to... I want to talk about Eddie's girlfriend.
Okay.
Okay. Now there was
he probably had several, He's popular with the ladies and all, but one particular girlfriend.
Yeah. Now, supposedly, Eddie was not in love with anybody else but this girl. This girl did not know that Eddie was in love with her. Eddie didn't know that she was also in love with him. Mm-hmm. She pursued him for a good year or more. She was, I think, 17 at the time. The amazing thing is that at the age of 18, so around the same time, actually she was probably around 18, because this before she met Eddie, she wrote a song. She was a songwriter, and let's say her name is Sharon Shelley. It's Sheeley. She wrote a song called Poor Little Fool, which Ricky Nelson recorded. In 1958, it became Nelson's first #1 and the Billboard Hot 100's first #1. And at the age of 18, she was the youngest woman to write an American #1 hit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many songs she wrote before this, but to write a song goes to #1. The manager and songwriting partner of Eddie Cochran, he then agreed to look after Shelley's interests, and she and Cochran began a relationship. So I know this was after there was a party, a New Year's Eve party. Now before this, Sharon, she was trying to impress Eddie. She went out and she said she spent, this is from a documentary, by the way, I watched on YouTube. And again, this one might be like 20 minutes long. It's not a very long document, but it's a really good one. And she spent all her money to impress Eddie with buying new dresses. And he didn't take any, notice of her.
Yeah, typically guys don't see the value of that.
So she was invited to a New Year's Eve party, and Buddy Holly was there, and the Everly Brothers. But she kind of gave up, and she was actually kind of mad that he still hadn't noticed her. So she basically wore, she said, a sweatshirt, sweatpants, or jeans. She said Levi jeans, tennis shoes, put her hair in pigtails, no makeup. after everybody left, that's when Eddie came out and asked her, "Are you in love with me?" And she said she wanted to punch him. And he said, "Well, you better be, because I'm in love with you."
Yeah, just being a little forceful and straightforward there.
So this is a sweet story. These two people that worked side by side, because Sharon, she wrote some of the Eddie Cochran songs. So they worked side by side, and she helped write the songs, Eddie Cochran's biggest hits. Mm-hmm. So in April 1960, she traveled to England to join Eddie Cochran and Gene Vincent, who were touring there. And we talked about that earlier, where Gene Vincent was originally signed on the tour and they wanted to get Eddie. And at one point, this is in the documentary, they knew Eddie Cochran was a bigger draw for the crowds than Gene Vincent. Gene Vincent wrote Bebop a Lula.
Yeah.
But Eddie didn't want his name above Gene's. He didn't think Gene could handle it. That's what he said. Mm-hmm. Now, Eddie, like we mentioned before, had a premonition of his own death. Mm-hmm. There's a event that took place at the hotel. I don't know how soon before he died. Sharon woke up one night there in the hotel, and Eddie's not there next to her, and he's downstairs and he's pounding on the door of the manager's office. The manager comes out and he grabs him by the, I don't know, say the throat or his shirt, and says, "I'm going to die and there's nothing you can do about it."
Wow.
Yeah. So the plane crash, Buddy Holly, we all know, and Richie Valens and the Big Bopper, that really affected him.
Right.
But, some people have these premonitions, and luckily they don't happen.
Yeah.
But for Eddie, unfortunately, they were on tour, of course, in England. His girlfriend and him were unofficially engaged, because actually that night, New Year's Eve party, he asked her to marry him. Just like that.
Yeah.
Now, they had known each other for probably a year and a half or more. And, they knew they really liked each other. On the night of April 16th, 1960, it was Shirley, Gene Vincent, and Eddie Cochran were traveling in a private taxi from a concert in Bristol to London Heathrow Airport. So they were trying to get to the airport. They might have been late. And it slammed into a lamppost. The driver was driving way too fast. As far as I read, I think the car kind of went up on its side or something. The door flew up. They all flew out of the car.
Wow. No seat belts,
Yeah.
Just flying out.
So, unfortunately, Eddie was the one with the severe head injuries. Gene Vincent, he broke his ribs and his collarbone. Gene Vincent already had a leg injury. I mean, he could perform, but he was in a motorcycle accident years earlier. So the driver was only fined 50 pounds, and he was banned from driving for 15 years. The driver was 20 years old.
Yeah.
His name is George Martin. No relation to the Beatles, George Martin.
Just driving too fast. So ironically, to the airport. They were driving to the airport.
They were trying to get,
trying to catch a plane, but crashing instead. Yeah.
So the girlfriend, the fiance, Sharon, she went on to write. She went on to write other songs afterwards, and she did eventually get married. Unfortunately, she passed away, I think, in 2002, a while ago. The other thing is, I found that they used to the earliest or the last festival I could find. There's an Eddie Cochran festival. The last thing I could find was 2016.
Yeah, that's not long ago.
Yeah. So this documentary that's on YouTube, it starts out...
What's it called?
So the documentary is called, it's BBC Arena. It might have been, maybe they put out different documentaries.
Yeah.
But look up BBC Arena, Eddie Cochran documentary. the documentary starts out, there's a guy, he's almost your tour guide. He's in the back of a car talking to you. And this is from the 80s, I assume. And he's taking you on the road, you know, where the car crash was, and then they show a bar. They have a Eddie Cochran tour. It's a whole Eddie Cochran day. They had the guy mentions they're going to have bands later on.
Wow!
But they're all gathering up to go to the hospital where they went. Now at the hospital, outside the hospital, is a monument. There's 3 steps coming down from it, and it's quoting Eddie Cochran's song called "3 Steps to Heaven."
Wow!
You know, it's one step. I don't know the lyrics offhand, but yeah, it's quoting that song, and it's a nice monument to Eddie Cochran. Check out Eddie Cochran. Even though he lived a short life, he had a lot of great songs.
Yeah,
like Buddy Holly and Richie Valens, I assume only had like one or 2 albums. They couldn't have had more than 1 or 2. And Eddie Cochran had 1 studio album.
Yeah,
he did. And I'm sure there might be some live stuff. Like I said, look up Dick Clark, Beach Nut.
Yeah. So we don't know what he could have achieved, what he would have recorded, you know, later written and recorded.
Yeah, someone mentioned that it would have been a great thing if... Now, Gene Vincent, he died back in the 70s. He had some stomach ulcer ailment and died.
Yeah.
He was still performing into the 70s, Gene Vincent.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned it would have been great if Gene and Eddie, when the Stray Cats came around, they had done some concerts with them.
That would have been wild.
You know, some songs with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Jim, thanks for that specific look at Eddie Cochran. And we've talked a lot about history. We want to just bring it to an end with talking about 2 people who are still doing it.
Yeah.
Still doing rockabilly. And I was sitting at home watching the BBC, I believe, but it was saw a documentary on the Boogie Playboys.
Okay.
So I took interest in this, and the Boogie Playboys are doing rockabilly in Hong Kong. It's 3 Chinese guys, and they play at this punk rock bar called the Hidden Agenda. And the Hidden Agenda, this bar has been shut down repeatedly by the Chinese government, who thinks that they're doing, you know, subversive stuff, anti-government. You know, they're just having a good time.
Yeah.
You know, it's rockabilly. You've got acoustic guitar, electric guitar.
Now, were you in Hong Kong at the time?
No, so I missed these guys because when I was in Hong Kong, they were toddlers.
Okay.
Yeah. So only because I'm too old did I miss them.
Okay.
Or they're too young. So you also check out this video. It's from an interview from an American reporter, and you can see it. It's called Search HK Rockabilly. They're singing in Cantonese, okay? And in this video, and they're at this gig sponsored by Jack Daniel's whiskey, you know? So it's great. So you see Jack Daniel's and you see almost everyone's Chinese.
Do they perform in English too, or was it?
No, I saw a couple other videos, and everything is speaking in Cantonese.
Okay.
So it's Cantonese, but it's with that attitude that is rockabilly, you know? Yeah. So I couldn't interpret the lyrics, you know, but I did hear some interpretation, and the subject matter. It's just, you know, we're out here to rock. We're doing it. So this is from 2018, and I think they're still actively playing. There's another music video that shows them touring America. It's hilarious. They're doing a music video, these Cantonese-speaking Chinese rockabilly people, and they're at the one of the rims of the Grand Canyon. And that's their music video. It's just wild. So people are still doing it. You know, we've got the Stray Cats in the 80s and into the 90s, and Brian Setzer just, you know, just putting out music. These guys, the Boogie Playboys, shout out to you guys in Hong Kong. And then, of course, the interview that you just put on just recently, and that is Jittery Jack.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Jittery Jack.
Jittery Jack's still making the music.
Yeah.
Still making it real. Another
band is Reverend Horton Heat.
That's right.
I saw them back in the mid-'90s at the Stone Pony. It's in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
I've been outside once.
Yeah.
Didn't get in.
And they're pretty similar, I would say, to the Stray Cats.
Yeah.
Even the sound, it's true rockabilly. And I think they're called the Reverend Horton Heat.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I think the lead singer, he was called the Reverend at one time. So they became the Reverend Horton Heat. But there's a song called Psychobilly Freakout.
Yeah.
And it's a good...
I have heard of that.
And it's mostly instrumental, fast guitar. And then there's a break, and the lead singer shouts, "It's Psychobilly Freakout!" And it's ding, 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 So you got to listen to that one as your introduction to the Reverend Horton Heat. Check out that. We also mentioned before Imelda May. Check her out. I'm pretty sure she does not play an instrument. Her instrument is her voice. And
I listened on the way over. I listened to some songs by her on the way over to the studio today.
And she is from Ireland. And when she sings, you don't hear that Irish accent. But she dresses the part. She's true rockabilly mama, you want to call it. I think she's fairly young. She's probably in her 40s.
That's young for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think her last album was probably a year ago, 2 years ago. So but check her out, Imelda May, for new rockabilly.
Yeah.
And again, once again, check out if you have Apple Music, check out the Rockabilly Essential playlist. There might be one on Spotify. Check out, what do we say, Peanuts Wilson. Check him out.
LaBeef, Mr. LaBeef.
Sleepy LaBeef. He's got a deep voice. He's very interesting.
Oh, I'm sleepy.
Charlie Feathers is another one. Was it Bottle to the Baby? That's an interesting song. And Wanda Jackson. So that'll give you enough if you're not too familiar with rockabilly. And of course, Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent, you want to check out. And Buddy Holly, who I love. Buddy Holly, we consider him rockabilly. So,
all right, thanks for listening and spending your time with us.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep listening.
Intro and exit music by the band 99%.
Today's show was produced and edited by Jim Thatcher. You can find Jim and Mike Talk on iTunes, Spotify, Iheart Radio, Stitcher, and their host site, Podbean.
The songs Baby Come Back and Long Gone Daddy were used with permission from Pat Coop. Used with royalty-free permission were the songs It's Time and Halo Down by Big Sandy and his Twilight Boys, and the song Out All Night by the Riptones.